Hazy Radio Network. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Hazy Radio Network, its affiliates, or sponsors. All shows are independently owned and broadcast for entertainment purposes only.
You are about to embark on a journey. It will be an experience unlike anything you've seen before. On this journey, you will meet many people. Some will advise you, some will inform you, and some will entertain you. Every journey begins with a single step, and the time for that first step is now. Welcome to the all-new Hazy Radio Network.
I've given up, I'm coming down. I dream of you, I need it now. Just like a drug, you took me down. I need the high, I'm so addicted now. Are you the friend or the enemy? You made my dreams turn to misery. I try my best to be good for you. I let you in, go on and take it all. I gave it all and got nothing. How could you throw me away? Climb to the top, now I'm falling. This is my great escape. Hold me up now till the end. My lover left and I lost a friend. Skies are dark, I'm losing him. You lose the light every now and then. Wide awake, I can clearly see my mistake in fighting fearlessly. I truly tried my best to be the woman you wanted. Go on and take it all. I gave it all and got nothing. How could you throw me away? Climb to the top, now I'm falling. This is my great escape. And all the time and all the lies we spent for nothing, and the tears we shed and the pain it brings, will it amount to something? But I can't give up, I'm still holding on to what we had, from a memory to a melody in this life we lead. Throw me away. Climb to the top, now I'm falling. This is my great escape.
Come join us along with owner Zeta Ost, August 17th through August 23rd, as Hazy Radio celebrates their 2-year anniversary. With such shows as Paranormal Underground Radio, Crossing the Void Radio, Our Worlds, In the Dark Radio, Opperman, Backstage, Periscope Uncensored, Tangerine Dream FM Radio Show, The Coyote Medicine Show, Rock and Roll Psychic, Anime Zing Radio, What's Your Sign? I Have Your Number, and many, many more. Come see what it's all about. Find a show just for you, then kick back and enjoy. Hazy Radio. energy drink for your soul.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Backstage on the Hazy Radio Network on our premiere show Tuesdays at 8 p.m. And welcome to my Smurfalicious co-host, Clarissa Vasquez. Hi, Clarissa.
You know, I was a little confused there for a minute. I thought today was Friday.
So was I. I was all excited that I would have tomorrow off, but, you know, it didn't happen that way. Now I'm going to be confused, and I'm going to have to set 3 alarms tomorrow to get up for work.
Well, I saw the post on Facebook, you know, join us for Backstage, and I went, oh, it's Friday.
Don't you love when you throw that twist in there somewhere?
Yeah.
Well,
we're so used to doing Backstage on Fridays.
I know it. It's going to be odd not doing it on Friday. So, I mean,
I know.
It's going to be kind of different. So I might have to think of something to do Friday night. Maybe do a late radio show or something. I don't know. Think about it. If I'm around. Maybe. I'll figure something out. But for me to have a night off, what is that even like? I don't even know what a night off is like. I looked at my schedule today of the things that I need to get done before I leave on Sunday. I need another week. I am so not ready to leave for this trip on Sunday that it's incredible. And when I think about it, I have to really prepare for 2 weeks travel. Because I'm gone for a week, I come back for a week, and then I'm gone for another week.
Poor Sherlock.
Well, the good thing with this one is he actually has a babysitter. He's not going to have to go into jail. So that's a good thing. So, yeah, he has a babysitter this time. Because he goes to jail, and last time I went, I was gone for a week. When I was gone for 2 weeks, he was almost comatose by the time I got back. They had to give him anti-anxiety medication. They had to give him diarrhea medicine because all of a sudden, you know, he was losing everything. He wasn't eating. He didn't eat for a week. He didn't drink anything for about 3 days. Yeah, so I mean, it was horrible. It was horrible on him. He's used
doggy Prozac.
A lot of doggy Prozac, I think. Well, he's used to sleeping on the couch in the living room. He's used to his treats. He's used to his ball, his one toy. And he's used to attention. He's not used to all the sounds of the other dogs. He's not used to laying on a concrete floor, even though I bring his blanket and I bring his pillow. I bring all of that. But he just can't handle it. So hopefully this one is going to be a little bit better. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think when I go to Scarefest, I'm probably going to have to hire a babysitter for Lizzie.
Yeah.
Because when I went to New England, every time my roommate would go to work, Lizzie would jump the fence.
Yes.
And she would have to go to doggy jail.
Yeah. Literally doggy jail.
Literally doggy jail. And that cost me a lot of money.
Uh-huh. I know it does. Well, even taking Sherlock to doggy jail, the other kind of doggy jail, the last time I brought him, when they had to go and give him all the anti-anxiety medication, I looked at the bill, and it was $700.
Oh, my gosh.
For 2 weeks. So, I mean, I looked at, and they almost had to put me in Prozac. I just looked at them and I said, seriously? And they went, yeah. Well, it's $50 a day. So you figure 10 days, 11 days,
Yeah.
$500, plus the medication he was on. Plus, they couldn't feed him his regular food then. They had to give him, light food. So, of course, that's a prescription. So that was like $40. It's
Oh my gosh.
expensive. Yeah. And it's more expensive for him because he's a bigger dog. He's a 100-pound dog.
Right.
So he's really expensive. And, really expensive. But, he's worth it. He is my best buddy. He is just absolutely precious. He is, when I hate to say this, but you kind of went through the same thing with Lizzie. When you first got Lizzie, you're going, I don't want a dog. I don't want a dog now. Because I had just lost Rocky that same day. And then it was, I had to pick Sherlock up because Mary Beth went in the hospital. And he never left. He stayed here the whole time. And now I'm glad he's there. I'm glad he's here. But he's just a big dog.
With Lizzie, it wasn't that I didn't want a dog. I just didn't want another dog so close, so soon after losing Casper.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That almost destroyed me.
Yeah,
losing Casper.
It does.
And,
but you know that, Lizzie will never replace your other dog.
Nope.
Because it's a completely different personality.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way Sherlock is. Rocky was very outgoing, loved everybody, played all the time. He had this very exuberant, outgoing personality, where Sherlock is very laid back. Just wants to lay on my lap and get belly rubs. That's all he cares about. Doesn't want to go play, doesn't really like going for walks. I take him for a walk and he wants to come right home. So he's just not an outgoing dog. He's afraid of everything, including my house, which I haven't figured that out yet. He could care less about other animals outside. He'll bark at dogs, but he won't chase them or anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't, he just looks at them, growls, and walks away. So he's just this big doofus of a dog. But no, he's great.
Well,
he's great.
With all of the issues that we've been having with Lizzie as of late, I know that Casper is up in doggy heaven laughing, going, sucker.
Exactly. They do that. Now, being from the metaphysical and the paranormal field, has your dog come back to visit you at all?
Yes.
How did he come back?
I actually saw him and got a photo of him on my phone. It's a really bad photo because obviously it was taken on my Captain Kirk flip phone.
The expensive one.
Yeah. The night after Casper passed, I was in my room and I got up to use the restroom and I almost tripped on him. He was laying right outside my bedroom door. Oh. And I went, oh, sorry, buddy, didn't see you there. And I went and used the restroom and then went, wait a minute.
Exactly.
And I come back out into the hall and he's not there. And I'm going, that's crazy. And I was on Skype with Doug at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're not going to believe what just happened. And I told him about it. And a few minutes later, I'm still talking to Doug and I had my bedroom door open just maybe 2 feet. It wasn't all the way open. And I saw him again. And I grabbed my phone. I snapped the photo and I said, check your phone. I'm sending you something. And he went, is that what I think it is? And I said, yes, it is. And he went, oh my God.
Isn't that great, though?
Yeah.
Now,
and of course, I started crying.
I was going to say, because did it feel like you lost him again for the second time?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the way it was, too. Yeah, totally. Totally get it. Totally get it. Well, Rock came back. He didn't come back for a very long time. But the one that I remember the most is actually my dog, Justin. And Justin is the dog that I had before Rocky. When Justin passed away, when I was cleaning house, and it was a Sunday. It was my mother's birthday, actually. When I came back from the hospital, I went into my room and I sat down on my bed and I was doing something. I don't remember what I was doing at the time. But I looked on his pillow, because he slept with a pillow and a blanket. and there was this huge tuft of his fur. And it was he was a Sheltie, so he was a black and white Sheltie.
Okay.
So it wasn't like it was fur that, comes out of a long-haired dog. It
Right.
was literally like somebody took a scissors and clipped a chunk of his fur off, because it was both the white and the black fur. And it was laid in a curl. And it was laid the way it looked like the J for Justin.
Oh.
It freaked me out. It absolutely freaked me out. And then a little while later, I was sound asleep. And it was on a weekend, I think, or I had a day off so I could sleep in a little bit later. And Justin had a habit of barking at the mailman or whoever walked outside. And I heard this rip-roar barking. And I woke up and I said, Justin, lay down and go to sleep. And I felt him lay down in his spot on the bed and go to sleep.
Oh, I love stories like that.
It was just bizarre, and then when I woke up and I realized what had happened, and it wasn't long after that I woke up, that I realized that he had come to say goodbye. And I lost it. So, yeah, so he came and said goodbye.
Yeah. Well, for about a week after I lost Casper, I would hear him running up and down the porch. He would chase anything on four legs. And I would hear it. I'd hear the running down the porch.
Yeah.
And and I'd go out to check, and of course there's nothing there. There's nobody there, and that lasted about a week.
Wow.
And then after that, I went into the hospital, and when I got back from the hospital, my roommate had already brought Lizzie home.
Oh. See, I just think that is so cool. I just think it's phenomenal when they do that. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Love it, love it.
So
anyway,
it hurts all over again, but it's almost a good hurt.
It's one of those comforting things. It's one of those it's okay things. You still miss them, and you miss them for a very long time. But it just kind of, that they're okay. And I think, having the beliefs that we do, we know that they go to a better place. They cross
Absolutely.
the rainbow bridge, as they say. And so, they're okay. They're with our loved ones that are on the other side. And they're doing up there whatever they did down here. And then some, because they're healthy again. So I look at that. So it's very good.
Yeah, and that's the one comfort, is that Casper is no longer in pain.
Right. That's the way I look at it. See, and Justin, we didn't know Justin was sick. Find out later, after he passed away, that he had, it's going to sound kind of strange, but he had a tumor the size of a banana in his neck that they thought originally was just fatty tissue that older dogs get. But it turned out that it was a tumor. And it had basically suffocated him. So it was really sad. But, his passing was quick. By the time I got him to the hospital, he was gone. So thank God he didn't suffer. Rocky was sick for a while. Rocky had congestive heart failure. So he was sick for a while. But he's one that told me that it was okay. It's time for me to go, and let me go. And I did. So it was hard. It was hard. But we did it. Yeah. We got through it.
Well, I wound up having to take Casper and having him put down.
Yes, I remember that.
Because he was so sick for so long, and he was suffering.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, it's okay for you to go.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be fine. It's okay for you to go.
Yeah.
And dummy wouldn't listen.
Aren't they stubborn?
He hung on, let me tell you.
Well, he's giving you that last little bit of time, right?
Yeah, but it ultimately it hurt that much more seeing him in that much pain.
Yeah, I know it does, and I just, and one thing about that, when you have animals, people let animals who are critically ill, they let them linger and linger and linger and linger. And, you know, an animal will tell you when it's time.
Yes.
There are signs that you watch for when it's time. And I watched for those signs with Rocky for a couple days. And, I didn't say anything to him, but he knew. He knew. And, so when I took him to the vet the last time and I asked them, is it time? Rocky just laid his head down. And to me, that was him saying, yeah, it's time. And so I ended up putting him down too. But hard. I mean, I had him 12 years. And he never gave up until the last couple days when he just couldn't do it anymore.
And that was Casper too. We held out. We held on to hope until that Sunday before he died.
Yeah.
And I put him down. The vet was in surgery all day Monday. So I couldn't put him down on Monday and put him down on Tuesday morning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's difficult. It is difficult. But anyway, those are our animals. They are our family.
Yep, they're our fur babies.
They are there. So, again, welcome to Backstage, premiering on Tuesday nights. This is going to be our permanent home now. I told you I wasn't giving up Tuesday nights. And the reason, well, I should kind of go through things that are kind of going on the network before we bring our guest on.
Yeah, I think you've got some splaining to do.
I got some splaining to do. Okay, so the reason that we moved from Friday night to Tuesday night is because Ed Opperman of the Opperman Report is going to be taking our spot on Friday nights. If you have not listened to Ed's show, I highly recommend it. He is a private investigator from Las Vegas. He is a conspiracy theorist, but what he does is he takes true crime stories and he brings on authors and attorneys and investigators and police officers to discuss these true life cases. From what I understand, they're going to be talking about the Ferguson, Missouri situation going on. But the shows that I've listened to were the conspiracy theory or the murder theory with John Lennon, stuff that we did not hear on the news. The Casey Anthony case, stuff that we didn't hear on the news. James Brown, the James Brown that we never knew. And every show that I've listened to, and he's been on with us for a month now, every show that I have listened to, I have learned something, and I have gone, oh my God, through the show. Because it's stuff that we don't hear about. Good news and bad. He doesn't brush around the facts. He puts the facts out there with his guests. He can be controversial. He can make you angry. He can make you think. Absolutely fabulous show. So it was an honor for me to give up my Friday night to bring him on. The other change to the network is Grandpa Peter Coyote is going to be leaving the overnight hours, and he is actually going to be hosting our prime time in the morning, our prime drive time, from 7 a.m. until 12 noon Eastern, so everybody can listen to our new Hazy Radio app that you can download on your mobile devices. And it will download, and it is preset right to Hazy Radio Network, which is really cool that we have our own app now. I mean, how many networks have their own app?
None that I know of.
None that I know of. We're special.
That's right. And not just special ed.
No, I have my certificate for that, and that I only do that on the other nights. But the nice thing about this app is that it isn't just exclusive to Hazy. It is pre-programmed to that, so you won't have to look for us. But it's part of the Nobex system, so you can actually move your favorite shows over to it and create your own little playlist and your show list on that mobile app. So that's wonderful. The other thing on the network that we have got going is the Indiegogo campaign that we have running on the network now through October. What that campaign is for is to have our listeners and our hosts and the guests and so on and so forth pay their tribute, so to speak, to the network. As everybody knows, that we do not have sponsors and we have very few commercials. The commercials that we do have are brought in by our show hosts, and it's usually people that they're affiliated with. I do not charge the shows to have a show on the network. I provide everything for them. And just to help the network out, you can go to the Indiegogo-Hazy Radio Network campaign page, and you can donate from $5 up to however amount you want. And there's some couple of prizes and some thank yous in there, so we're going to be thanking some people as we go along. And it's just, if you like what you hear, if you support the network, if you can, I'm not forcing you to, but if you can go and contribute whatever you'd like, and you'll get a kind message from me personally. So that's the other thing. And the big thing is Hazy Radio Network is celebrating their 3rd year as of this week. In fact, as of Thursday, we will be launching into our 3rd year as Hazy Radio Network. We can officially...
So we're officially 2?
We're officially 2. We're going to be 3 on...
Terrible 2.
We're on terrible... And yeah. And every host has their terrible 2s. And we've all experienced it. So as of Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we will be launching into our 3rd year. The naysayers said it couldn't be done. Well, on you. We did it. And we're going strong. So those are the news and announcements of Hazy Radio and Backstage and the whole network. As far as what Backstage will be on Tuesday nights, format's the same. Some nights we may have a guest. Some nights we just going to do the BS like we normally do. Throw some music in and just kind of have some fun. So if you want to participate in the show, you certainly can do that. The phone number, call-in number is the same, 651-447-6309. So how's that for my long-winded 30 minutes?
Do you still have a voice?
No. So you're going to take over from here.
Well, in that case...
In that case...
You should know better than to give me the mic like that.
I know, exactly. Exactly. Well, should we go...
Especially after what happened on the Periscope anniversary show.
I know. People have to go... If you haven't heard it, go and listen to the archive. We should also say that you are... this is not the only show you do on the network. That you have Periscope Uncensored. Shows. Yeah. Periscope Uncensored on Friday nights at 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And
every now and then, I co-host with my brother on Animazing Radio on Sundays.
Another phenomenal show on the network that is starting to bloom. It's a little
oh my
off.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I get dozens of emails every week from people wanting to be guests on Animazing.
Isn't that great?
He's booked into December.
That's phenomenal. That is incredible. Congratulations for him. Well, it's a very unique show. It is. It's one of those shows that there aren't a lot of these shows out there.
Nobody else is doing it.
No, nobody else is doing it.
From what we found, there is one other anime-based show on the network, but they focus on the music.
Right.
Nobody else focuses on the shows themselves, the voice actors, the illustrators, the producers. Nobody else is doing that.
No, they don't. They don't. So we have a show that's exclusive. We have a couple of shows that are exclusive. We're all exclusive.
That's right.
Like we said, we're special.
That's how we roll.
That's how we roll. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. We're getting to the bottom of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and find our guest, which is Mr. Ed Opperman. So we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different things. Probably we'll do some focus on the Ferguson, or the situation in Ferguson, Missouri, which is like all over the news. I watched part of the riots last night, and it's really kind of sad. So should we go take a break?
I think we should.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And the music tonight is going to be, and on the shows when we have a guest, we're going to do independent music. So tonight, the guest her name is Ginny Luke. And I can't remember what her album is called, but that's who we're going to be featuring tonight. So don't go away. You're listening to Backstage on the Hazy Radio Network. We'll be right back.
This is Andrew Brewer, the Rock and Roll Psychic, and join us every Monday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern on Rock and Roll Psychic Radio. We'll talk about clairvoyance, astrology, reincarnation, things that go bump in the night, and maybe some other topics too. So we look forward to seeing you there every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Hazy Radio Network.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. You see me around the neighborhood, and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger.
Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help.
Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me. We are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Join us on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern for Our Worlds with Elizabeth Rose on the Hazy Radio Network.
Before this gets too deep, let's take a breath here. I told you we'd get weak. We blacked out from the fear. How did we end up in this condition? Full-fledged warfare. Then we started showing symptoms. Is there a doctor anywhere? Don't let me give
was a wedding that day. I picked you up like always, but everything, it all just changed on me. The sound of the silence said it best. The tears that were drying on your dress, they shouted out that I would be sorry. You say sometimes you're too far gone to see it clear. Oh, and I'll scream and hope somebody hears. You say it's the pages we turn, but I was still standing on the bridge that I burned. Nobody's laughing, 'cause it only hurts, and I'm holding on to the page that I wrote with you. Harmonies hung from church walls and spilled out into the church halls. You held my hand and I kissed your cheek. An argument in the parking lot after we swore that we would not. The flame had gone out and the dark was plain to see. The music stops and we were just acting. A story, an ending too real to believe. Oh, you say it's the pages we turn, but I was still standing on the bridge that I burned, and nobody's laughing, 'cause it only hurts, and I'm holding on to the page that I wrote with you. You say it's the pages we turn, but I was still standing on the bridge that I burned. Now nobody's laughing, 'cause it only hurts. Yeah, I'm holding on to the page that I wrote with you.
And welcome back to Backstage, everybody, on our premiere night, Tuesday night here on the Hazy Radio Network. We have a great guest with us, who is actually, I have known Ed, kind of sort of Ed, we've known each other, for a couple years now, but I have just recently met him, and he is a new host here on the Hazy Radio Network with the Opperman Reports. It's going to be premiering Friday night. He is a private detective. He is an author. He is... Ed, what don't you do?
Oh, what don't I do? Well, I'm not too good at cleaning up the place here.
Okay, so we won't hire you as a housekeeper. How's that?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Well, for people who don't know who you are, I say that you're a private investigator. When did you, or how did you get started in that field of work?
Okay. How I just in full blown into that kind of work was I guess it was around 79, 80. I developed a source in the phone company. I was living in New York City, and this guy, I could give him an unlisted phone number, and he could come back with a name and an address, with a work phone number, with a bank account number, with a social security number, and all of the local calls made from that number out of the same exchange, and all of the long distance calls made out of that phone number. With the time and duration, everything was a great thing you could get. It was just straight from the phone company. It was like a bill. Wow. There was their secret billing information. And so this is way before identity theft or something. This is way back in 79. No one had any idea what you could do with that kind of information back in those days. But I would sell that information to private investigators in New York and to lawyers and bill collectors and bounty hunters and guys like that who were in the business. It was called being an information broker. So it was like having gold. Having that kind of information at that time was a great source. So I made a really big name for myself really fast with all the big shot investigators of that day and all the big shot lawyers as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just a kid. I was like 20 years old.
What made you think of doing even that? Just out of necessity or need or?
I'll tell you. That's a good question. And how I could see, and I was going to get into that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. See, because I was a political activist. I was with the Yippies back in my teenage years. And so I was used to being on the phone. We had a talking code on the phone. We had our, looking over our shoulder all the time because we were under attack by, COINTELPRO, FBI, and all this kind of stuff. And so I was around that kind of skullduggery to begin with. And even in the Yippies, there were all kind of guys who were informants and undercover agents and COINTELPRO, like I said, and even agents of foreign governments were around our little circle there of nut jobs over there in the Lower East Side of New York. So I was already looking over my shoulder. I already was involved in kind of like skullduggery. So when I saw I could get that phone number information, I knew it was valuable. I knew right away that was worth something. And then I fell in with these PIs, and I met this guy in Brooklyn who was a fascinating guy. Had this little office in his basement, of his mother-in-law's house, And when you walked in there, though, and all over his wall was covered all these little diplomas and certificates, and he was a gunsmith, and he had a shoulder holster with a gun and a shotgun propped in the corner, and he did fingerprint analysis, and he did handwriting analysis and all this kind of stuff. And he was an expert witness. And I just walked in there, and I says, man, this is the coolest thing in the world. I says, I want an office just like this, and now I do.
Wow.
I love it. See, my dog's even agreeing. When you get into something like the line of work that you got into, you started out with phone numbers and reverse phone numbers and addresses and so forth. How did you go from that to becoming a private investigator?
Well, they started changing the laws. You weren't allowed to be an information broker anymore. So I had enough experience working for PIs and stuff like that I was able to get hooked up in New York City and start working as a PI there. Then I drifted away from it, and I did a lot of other things. I owned a nightclub in Manhattan. I owned one of those horse and carriages that goes around Central Park. I owned part of an advertising agency in New York. And then I owned a beeper and cell phone company. I was one of the first. Oh, as a matter of fact, I was the first guy in the whole country to go into a mall with a kiosk and sell beepers and cell phones out of a mall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they actually came and they took my picture and everything. And you'd think I would be like a millionaire right now, you know?
I love it.
I know. Just kind of stumbling along here. But then I went back into the PI business. Me and my partner, we got involved in doing employment screening for UPS. And we were doing all their employment screening. So we set up a new company that was based out of Colorado called Opperman Investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Where
did that.
in Colorado?
Well, at first it was in Denver, but then later on it was on Colorado Springs on Nevada Avenue, right where you see when you watch Dog the Bounty Hunter. I was right there on that street.
Okay, because I live in Colorado. I've been raised here my whole life. So.
Looking for a job?
Maybe.
There you go.
Maybe. Do you remember the first case you worked on as a PI?
As a PI, you know what? I guess it would be. Yeah, I do. I would say the first case I actually worked on was like the Pizza Connection case, which was a really big case. And I was working out in this PI's office in Brooklyn. And what he was doing was they were authenticating the wiretaps. So the FBI would produce a wiretap transcript of these guys doing this Pizza Connection stuff, right? I think it was Pizza Connection, but it was a whole string of mafia trials back around that time that this guy was involved in. And we would get a transcript from the FBI saying, okay, we want to sell some drugs, or we want to break your legs. That's what they said that the defendant was saying in the tape.
Wow.
But we would say, oh, no, we listened to the tape. And what I heard was, I want to give him a hug, or I want to cook him some eggs. You know, so and then we would give that version, and then they would have to find it out in court of which what you really heard. And so it was pretty casual, and they'd be playing these recordings all day long of these mafia guys, just about their daily business of the wiretaps. There was one that sticks in my mind. The guy was in his car. He was in his Jaguar, and they had a bug in his car, and he was going, "Oh man, look at that van over there! Every day I see that van following me. That got to be the FBI. That got to be the cops following us." It was, "Meet me here tomorrow." They would give the exact time and date of the next spot they wanted to meet the next day. It's all on the tapes, like their every move. They were giving up everything they were doing, but they thought they were so slick.
I love it. When you look back on the first case and where you came today, has the work you do changed, and how much has it changed?
Oh yeah. Because you got to imagine. You see, I never took the route. Your average PI, what he does is he works for an insurance company. They do workman comp cases. They go out and they do surveillance, and they sit in the car all day long. And they watch somebody with binoculars. And I never took that route at all. Right away, I went to work for attorneys, giving them that information with the phone company kind of stuff. Because I developed a catalog of sources branched out from that, where I would find utility company sources and bank sources and all kind of sources to locate people and find people and stuff. So I moved my way into working for lawyers and other PIs as the guy with the source of information. Then I got a degree in paralegal studies too, so I could help and work in case preparation for these lawyers as well. Mm-hmm. And real big shot, Bill Kunstler, real impressive guys, like the best in New York. I got to meet all of these guys. But a lot of it too was I was involved in these things because I was young, I worked cheap, and I could be young and strong. I could carry the boxes, evidence. Yeah.
What? I don't know what that was.
Yeah, me neither. FBI. I said FBI too many times.
FBI. Okay. Hold on. I'm just going to check something here. Okay. When you get into this kind of business, do you become more cynical as time goes by?
Wow, it's funny because I was just asked this question the other day and I had a great answer for it.
Now, the question is, can you remember that answer?
Yeah. Do I become more cynical? I don't become more cynical because of the work, but I am more cynical. I'm a cynical person right now, and I'm very careful because what I know reality is. and I don't let it bleed over into my personal life.
Right.
I see so much that I'm a lot more careful and a little more less gullible than I think the average person.
Interesting. Do you find that and we're going to kind of twist into some of the government stuff here because I know that's kind of one of your topics.
Sure.
What I have issue with, and what I have kind of in some research that I've been doing, and I think you and I have kind of even talked about this, when you get into a case and when you go to trial with that case, do you feel that the outcome of that case is already predetermined before the attorneys even get up to speak?
Yeah, there's a lot of, definitely. Oh boy, there's so many ways we can go with this.
Right, I know.
Yeah, because there's a lot. Sometimes there's a lot of pretrial negotiations between the DA and the defense attorney.
Right.
And I can even think of a case too, because I'm a digital forensic investigator too, where I retrieve data from cell phones and computers as well. So sometimes there'll be like a little free talk you'll have between the defense attorney and me, the expert, or one of my experts that I have in there, and the DA and his expert.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And me and the expert can kind of talk to each other in our own little language, and I can kind of see a look of recognition on his face. He goes, "Oh yeah, hey, this guy could be innocent. Oh hey, wait a minute," and we can kind of smooth things over that way. There's a lot that goes on in a criminal case or a civil lawsuit. A lot of negotiation back and forth. Is it decided when you go in? Yes, sometimes it definitely is. Both lawyers know there's no hope. They know how it's going to turn out, but they're just going through the motions. Sometimes the case, because you're waiting for the prosecution's case. A lot of times the prosecution's case can fall apart.
Right.
And then you get lucky.
Do you think that there's ever the idea that the judge has already made up his mind how the case is going to go? So based on that, his own determination of the case, he may either allow or disallow pertinent evidence. Based on the way he wants to swing it.
And also, too, there's a lot of political considerations that go on in the background as well. There's all kinds of shenanigans and double crossing that goes on with these people. Back in Staten Island, it was such a club. You can kind of hear what was going on. You kind of knew going in and what was going to happen. But some of these courts are so corrupt that just you never know what's going on.
I know, because what worries me now is that judges, both state and federal judges, are elected officials. So, and we're going to get kind of political in this because I just want to get your take on it. What my feeling is, in watching some of the cases up here in Minnesota, watching a couple of cases in LA, and some of them have been high on the news, what it seems to be, and what I'm afraid it is, I don't know for sure, I'm kind of making a prejudgment possibly, that a judge can sway the case based on political pressure or political commitments.
Oh yeah, and even too, like in some civil litigation, especially like in a family court and stuff like that, all kinds of shenanigans go on.
Mm-hmm.
Lawyers are meeting with judges on the side, and they're signing orders that haven't been approved, and all kinds of shenanigans you wouldn't believe. Because I'm pulling docs and stuff all day long. I saw one day just recently, it was unbelievable. These guys came in, they didn't even take a number. They knew someone behind the clerk's office there. The clerk's taking them right up to the judge. It wasn't even a lawyer doing this. It was just guys that work in a courthouse.
Right.
And I've seen stuff too, where court minutes where we're doctored and changed. Clients come to me so many times and they'll say, "Oh, Ed, you're not going to believe what happened. But they changed the minutes in the court. We saw they changed it, and they doctored it up to make it look. And then I saw the judge get into a car with the defense lawyer. And people say, "Oh, that's impossible. It can't happen." Trust me, man. This stuff happens all the time. I think what goes on is even more unbelievable.
To me, our court system is not based any longer on truth or innocence, as far as I'm concerned.
Never has been, though. Look back in the history of a guy like Don King.
Yeah.
Don King was convicted of murder.
Yeah.
Okay? right before he went to prison, the judge on a Saturday signed an order saying he didn't have to go to prison.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, well, you know, what? How? What? Huh? You know? And now the guy has a gun permit. He's walking around. The guy's a convicted murderer. You know? It's so, yeah, you can get away with murder in this country. Let's put it that way. You know?
And, you know, and then you look at, you know, a trial is supposed to be, if it's a jury trial, is supposed to be set up and tried by your case or your jury of peers. When I look at the juries nowadays, there's no such thing as peers. Because if you've got a guy who is in a gang, and I'm going to use an extreme analogy here, his peers are going to be other gang members. They're not going to be people in normal society. That's not how this all works. So juries really aren't even all that keen on what's really going on, are they?
No, and what you're saying is not extreme, because of homicides and you know, deadly assaults with a deadly weapon, that kind of stuff. 80% of those crimes are gang members. You know, right. You see Casey Anthony, you see you know these people. Casey Anthony, who's the other one? Jody Arias. But your average, you know, self-defense case, your average death penalty case are gang members. It's gang members shooting each other up. And you're right, and they don't have a jury of their peers whatsoever, not even close to it, because their peers are out there on the street. They can't serve jury duty because they got convictions themselves.
Right. So in a jury nowadays, because trials, and we have to go to break in a couple minutes, but because trials now are so based on forensic, and I kind of after the top of the hour, I kind of want to get back into the forensic side of it. And so much of it is done scientifically that the average person doesn't understand a word that either attorney is talking about.
Sometimes the attorneys don't understand.
So how can you fairly try a case if you don't understand the scientific side of it?
Okay, do we have time real quick? A real quick story. Jody Arias case, right? They have the digital forensic investigator up there testifying, and he's trying with all his might to get out there. He was one of the first witnesses of the defense, and he's trying to explain to them that Travis Alexander was on his laptop. When Jody Arias walked in, he was on his laptop, and he was logged in under his girlfriend's name, watching YouTube videos. Travis Alexander, it was first he was watching YouTube, then he was switching over to Gmail, then he was switching back to YouTube, but he was under his ex-girlfriend's account, okay? He was spying on his ex-girlfriend's email, and that's what this guy was trying to get out there, but Nuri could not spit it out and ask the right questions that this guy could get the right answers out. I understood what he was trying to say, but it never made the news. No, the jury, it went over to jury, said, I guarantee it.
Right. Well,
and then you think, see, the thing is, too, is he could bring that up in closing, and he could say, hey, remember when we asked about this? What I was trying to get out there was that he was in his girlfriend's email account. He didn't even do that, because then you get to closing, you're rushed, you want to get it out, you know.
Phenomenal. Okay, let's go ahead and go to our top of the hour break, and when we come back, I want to kind of talk about, because forensics is kind of your thing here. And I also want to talk about the Ferguson case, because you're going to be talking about that on Friday. Yeah. So let's go ahead and go to the top of the hour break, and when we come back, we will be rejoined by our very special guest, Mr. Ed Opperman. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Horror and Paranormal Convention is coming to Lexington, Kentucky, September 12th through the 14th. Scarefest provides 3 frightful packed days of guests, speakers, and vendors, featuring the who's who of the horror and paranormal industry. Spend 1 or all 3 days with celebrities such as Carrie Elwes, Kane Hodder, Corey Feldman, Carrie and Jake Busey, Grant Wilson, Chip Coffey, Stephen Tango, Clarissa Vasquez, Diane Frazier, and many more. Tickets start at just $26.25 per person for a 1-day admission. Visit thescarefest.com today to get your tickets for the scariest event of the year. Come if you dare, but don't come alone.
Hey everyone, it's Karen Frazier. I'm here with my co-host of Paranormal Underground Radio, Rick Hale.
Hi everyone.
We invite you to join Paranormal Underground Radio on the Hazy Radio Network to explore the unexplained every Thursday night from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific and other times in the flyover states.
Each week we talk with investigators in the field, researchers, authors, and experts about topics that include paranormal investigation, ufology, cryptozoology, and spirituality.
So please join us each Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for Paranormal Talk with great guests right here on HazyRadioNetwork.com.
Fox News Radio. I'm Ron Flatter. Charged by a grand jury in Texas with felony abuse of power, Republican Governor Rick Perry has turned himself in.
This indictment is fundamentally a political act that seeks to achieve at the courthouse what could not be achieved at the ballot box.
Perry speaking this past hour after he was booked at a courthouse in Austin.
Perry will officially be arraigned in that courtroom on Friday morning. However, Perry is not required to be there. The case centers all around Travis County District Attorney Rosemary Limburg. She was arrested on drunk driving charges last year. Many in the community, including Governor Perry, called for her resignation, and when she refused to do so, Perry vetoed millions of dollars in funding to a program that her office oversees. That is what led to these abuse of power allegations.
Fox's Casey Stiegel in Texas. Another black man was killed by police in the St. Louis area. The officers say this time the robbery suspect in North St. Louis took aim at them with a knife. In Ferguson, Missouri, we're standing by to see if there will be a 10th night of violent reaction to an unarmed black teenager being shot by a white policeman.
One of the demands of local leaders and demonstrators is that County Prosecutor Bob McCulloch remove himself from the case. Thus far, he's refusing to do that, but he says Governor Jay Nixon has the power to remove him from the case. And McCulloch has already squared off with Nixon, saying the state takeover of crowd control here was unlawful and disgraceful.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Ferguson, Missouri, where Attorney General Eric Holder will be arriving tomorrow. 20 rockets from Gaza have been answered with airstrikes from Israel. That's according to Israeli and Palestinian authorities. 2 people died in Gaza, including a 2-year-old girl. You're listening to Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
Securing America. The governor said the senator's foreign policy would compound the threat of terrorism and endanger our national security. The senator shot back that the governor's foreign policy is rooted in bluster and stuck in the past. Here's the twist. Both are Republicans. In a Washington Post op-ed, Governor Rick Perry of Texas took aim at the supposed isolationism of Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. The latter shot back in an op-ed for Politico magazine that noted Perry's support in 2012 for returning U.S. troops to Iraq. Fox News contributor Jim Pinkerton is a former White House aide under President George H.W. Bush.
I think that both Rick Perry and Rand Paul, who chose to engage and then just stay engaged in the issue, probably both think that this has helped them with their respective constituencies.
Not surprisingly, both Perry and Paul are possible contenders for the GOP nomination in 2016. In Washington, James Rosen, Fox News Radio.
A couple hours left to vote in Wyoming, another 5 hours in Alaska, in a primary that Republicans are hoping leads them to gain a seat in the Senate. Jessica Rosenthal, live in Fox News Radio's West Coast Bureau.
Voters in Alaska are choosing among Lieutenant Governor Meade Treadwell, former State Attorney General and Marine Dan Sullivan, and Tea Party-backed Joe Miller. They want the chance to go up against incumbent Democratic Senator Mark Begich in the fall.
Whichever Republican wins the nomination is going to have a very good chance in the general election.
Political science professor at the University of Alaska in Anchorage, Jim Muller, says that's because Alaska is primarily Republican. Wyoming is even more so, which is why, regardless of whether or not the incumbents in a Senate and congressional race win today, the GOP will most likely maintain their seats, Ron.
Jessica, in Chicago, land authorities are negotiating with 2 men who are barricaded inside a home where they are reportedly holding a woman and 5 children hostage. This is in a suburb of Harvey, Illinois. 2 police officers were said to be wounded by gunfire this afternoon, both of them not suffering life-threatening injuries. Flight delays of up to 2 hours have been reported at Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix. That's because of heavy rain that has brought flooding to Arizona.
Some rain gauges recorded more than 4 inches of rain in just a few hours. The New River, about 30 miles north of Phoenix, rose so much and so fast that it pushed a house off its foundation and up against some trees, with residents still inside. John Hoyt lives in the area and says it happened quickly.
It's a dry river, and it only runs about a couple months out of the year, but we've never seen it ever run like this. It was right up to the highway bridge, and that's pretty high.
He used his truck to help ferry people out until the water got too deep. In Phoenix, Ted Houston for Fox News Radio.
Would-be Heisman Trophy candidate Braxton Miller re-injured his right shoulder. That means the Ohio State quarterback will miss the entire football season. I'm Ron Platter, Fox News Radio.
I can't let you get close to me, not again. Devastates me, 'cause I lost my best friend. The hardest part for me today is not asking how you've been, or caring what you say. Trying to rid my mind of your memories, but my mind, it clouds, you're too dark to see. And I hope I gave you even half of what you gave to me. Look what you gave to me. This is what happens to worlds collide. Left with nothing but to surrender my pride. A foolish child lives for demanding and stronger. Maybe this was the side of me you needed to see. I wasn't the woman that burned you the way you burned me. As this fire dies, it ends what we could be. As this fire dies, you're all I wanna see. And I hope I gave you even half of what you gave to me. What you gave to me. All we ever wanted was to let love be our guide. This is what happens to worlds collide. Left with nothing but to surrender my pride. A foolish child lives for your was never ready for you to leave me, babe. I stayed when the best of me knew. Should have walked away. Pain of our own, a legacy of agony. This is what you left me.
Welcome back to Backstage with Hazy and Clarissa here on the Hazy Radio Network. Little Jenny Luke there with some dark charade from her album Mysterious Child. We're having a great time on the show tonight. Learning a lot about a bunch of different things, but we're really happy to have our guest tonight. He has been he's been doing podcasts on the network for a month now, but coming this Friday, right before Periscope Uncensored, he's going to be starting a live show. The Opperman Report is going to start at 8 p.m. Eastern here on the Hazy Radio Network, and we're really happy to have Mr. Ed Opperman on the show with us. Ed, how are you?
I'm pretty good, and I'm really excited about coming on Fridays, too, as well.
You should be. We should tell them how long it took you to get to me.
It was a while, yeah. What I did was I went on TalkStream Live, and I saw the big shows, and I says, okay, I want to go on every one of these shows. I sort of contacted everybody. And you and me went back and forth. You're right, for a few months there.
For a few months, because we didn't have we didn't have an opening, and then I wasn't going to take podcasts for a while, and then I went, all right, fine. I mean, I've listened to your show, and again, I listened to it through TalkStream, and you were recommended by a mutual friend of mine from TalkStream, Tom Donahue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tom Donahue.
Who's that?
Tom Donahue.
From the guy who owns TalkStream?
He doesn't own TalkStream, but he's the programmer. But he used to have his own show back on the old network, and so I've known Tom for many, many years. I said, okay, Ed wants to come on. What do you think? And he said, get him. And I said, I know, I want him. How do I get him? So I got you.
That's funny, because I didn't think he liked me, because I used to nag TalkStream all the time about putting my picture up there.
Yeah, no.
And I went back and forth with them. I says, listen, I didn't expect me to pick up girls, man, if they don't let me put my picture up on there. So I figured they were sick of me. I thought I was pushing them up with those guys. Okay, great.
I know TalkStream went through kind of a management change for a while, and now Tom is kind of in charge of it.
Okay.
So things have switched back around. So, and you mentioned TalkStream Live, and our listeners may not know that Hazy Network is in the top 5 of broadcast networks that TalkStream Live, when they decided to go 24/7 network streaming, we were one of the top 5 that were contacted. That they said, we're going to go ahead and offer this to you first. Now, we are what they call a mid-level network. We're not like the Hannitys and all that kind of stuff, but we're mid-level. But we're in the top 5 of the mid-level networks. So that's kind of kudos to Hazy Network. So congratulations, and I know you're up in the numbers there over on TalkStream.
Yeah, we seem to be doing pretty good with them.
Yeah, exactly. So congratulations, congratulations all the way around. When we were coming out of break, I wanted to kind of turn focus a little bit. We're still going to talk about the criminal justice system since you're kind of involved in that, but you're also very involved in politics, and I want to get to that too. When you work with law enforcement and when you work with the cases that you do, you're dealing with forensic evidence. Really, forensic evidence didn't take off in the court system until the O.J. Simpson trial. I think that's where that tide turned. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. One thing. The word forensic means to testify in court and to create an exhibit that can be used in court. So a lot of people think it means something scientific, but and it usually does apply to things that are like a scientific exhibit. But any exhibits that are forensic, like a psychologist can be a forensic psychologist, and you do a report that's a forensic psychology report for court. So my job is to take data and like from a computer hard drive or from a cell phone, and create an exhibit that can be used in court. Along the guidelines, you have to obey all the rules, get ordered. But the thing is, you're right. That whole DNA stuff, it came to light. But before that, there was forensic fingerprint evidence, forensic ballistic evidence, But forensic DNA, that was OJ for sure, man. That was a whole. You really got to wonder what went on with that, because there's so much shenanigans that went on with that OJ trial. it was it's like a psyop kind of operation when you look back at it. The whole country was captivated by it. I'm going to write a book about that case. I don't know if you know the whole my whole background with that, but I've done a lot of research into that and interviewed a lot of people with it, and come up with a lot of really new conclusions.
Well, didn't they? And I read this somewhere.
Yeah.
Didn't they? Some kind of report came out within like the last year or so. I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember the whole article. But that the DNA that was found on the supposed weapons were not OJ. No,
they never found the weapon. We never found the weapon.
They never found the weapon.
Okay. No.
But there's
all sort of shenanigans in that case. Did you know that the medical examiner in that case who actually conducted the autopsy never testified? He had somebody else testify from his office?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you knew that. Okay.
Yep, I knew that. And then the other thing...
Yeah, I did...
Well, and then they were saying, too, if you look at the photograph of OJ after this happened, when he was arrested, there were zero defensive wounds on this man. And they also said that by the blood stain, by the blood splatter at the scene, whoever committed the crime had to have defensive wounds because there was DNA found under the nails of both Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. But none of that matched OJ.
Well, yeah, and not only that too, but I had T.H. Johnson on my show. We did a 6-hour show, okay? We did a 2-hour show, then we did 4 hours after the show. Mm-hmm. Me and him just talking until we collapsed.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night. And he's with a medical group. His brother was really involved. His brother, it was OJ's doctor, and was also who was that? Christopher Darden's doctor as well. Right. So you heard that show?
No, I didn't, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, T.H. Johnson, yeah. So, and then, they're convinced that there were 2 different knives used in that assault.
Correct.
I agree with that. I also think that OJ was at the crime scene. I believe he was there. I think he showed up after the murders, and he ran around in the blood, and he took off running because he was scared.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff with that case. And I had another guest on, Livingston. Singular. Stephen Singular.
I don't know that.
Who has all this evidence and information about Mark Furman. And he's convinced that Mark Furman's planted evidence all over the place, and all kinds of... And I even had anonymous people come forward to me and give me information on the side, confirming a lot of what he said, too, as well. I've also met Henry Lee, Dr. Henry Lee. I've met him quite a few times. And as a matter of fact, we were just laughing, just me and my kid today, we were watching, because they had Dr. Henry Lee on TV today, so I pulled up the picture of me and Henry Lee, and I said, look at the TV, and look at me over here, on the computer. And, but if you really want to laugh, that picture's taken 10 years ago. I was like 260 pounds. If you look at me in that picture,
oh man,
I look way younger now than I did in that picture.
Oh,
so, but you were saying that he has no defensive wounds on him, and you're right. And there's just so you can go on about OJ all day long.
Yeah,
the
other thing that I don't think people are aware of when you talk about Mark Furman, and I didn't trust Mark Furman from the first time I saw him. That Mark Furman was not a clean cop. I mean, he had a whole history of trouble in more than one police department. And he was actually on his way out. They were setting up a case to get rid of him before the O.J. Simpson trial, and he knew it. So he needed to find something big to prove himself that he was the so-called detective that he said he was. So that's when you talk about the planning of the evidence.
Okay, let's get into Mark Furman a bit, okay? He was in like 5 different commands in the first 5 years of his career. So he was getting bounced around quite a bit. That's really, really unusual, okay, to get bounced around that much. Then he was in traffic. He was in traffic enforcement the majority of his career on LAPD, okay?
Right.
And he only made it to detective because he filed a lawsuit against them saying, hey, I've been on here so long, you got to make me detective. And they made him detective. Interesting story about the Mark Furman, and you might know, and Anthony Pelicano, who was a famous private investigator in California. He's in prison right now today for wiretapping and also having a hand grenade and C4 explosives in his safe over there in his office in California. And he was known as a kind of a tough guy, strong arm, wiretapping everybody, PI to the stars. So what happened was there was a guy named Don Simpson, who was a movie producer who produced Top Gun and all those kind of movies, that series of movies all kind of had the same flavor. The first was Top Gun, and then there was that race car one, And what happened was he was notorious for hiring these Heidi Fleiss girls, and he was like a sadistic, sadomasochistic kind of guy, right? So he had a house guest at his house one night, and the house guest died of an overdose. So what did he do? He called up, before he called the cops, he called up Anthony Pelicano, the private investigator, to come to his house and clean up the crime scene before the police came. And who did Anthony Pelicano, when the police showed up, who was the responding officer? Mark Furman.
Yep.
Now what is Mark Furman doesn't answer 911 calls, okay? So Anthony Pelicano did not call up 911. He called up Mark Furman. Had to be friends, okay? Interesting fact. Anthony Pelicano was also hired by Bill Clinton to dig up dirt on Monica Lewinsky.
Right.
Monica Lewinsky claims, hey, they killed my cat. They broke into my house. What's going on here? I don't know what's going on. Oh, my goodness. And Anthony Pelicano was the guy who was doing all that. Okay?
Right.
O.J. Simpson played golf with Bill Clinton, I think it was 2 weeks before these murders. Okay? Now you might want to wonder, what kind of conversation did they have out on that golf course? Hey, O.J., how are you? Hey, Bill. I'm getting divorced. I need a good PI. Can you recommend anybody for me? Yeah, I know somebody. Go ahead and Pelicano. You can imagine what went on there,
exactly.
Out there. So my theory is that OJ hired Pelicano, because there's still this. Pelicano was definitely involved in the OJ trial, okay? Because there are sidebars, okay? And you used to be able to read these sidebars online. I don't know if they're still there or what, but I read quite a bit of those sidebars in the court record. And there's one where Chris Darden brings up Pelicano, and everyone says, I ain't touching Pelicano. I ain't bringing up Pelicano. I'm not going to. They were all afraid of Pelicano, including Zito and all of them.
Sure.
The whole bunch.
Sure.
Yeah.
It amazes me. Crime stories, number one, amaze me to begin with.
Yeah.
But the forensic side of it amazes me. The maneuvering that goes around in these cases amazes me. And there's nothing simple about any of it. But it's all a chess game.
I'll give you a good example.
Okay.
Death penalty case. My first death penalty case, okay? No, I shouldn't have said that. But one of my death penalty cases, okay? Because I can't actually talk about this case specifically, but here's what happened. The defendant in this case was guilty, man. He confessed, okay? He confessed all over the place, man. They have. But they hired me to examine his cell phone, and they wanted to prove that there were text messages received and sent on that phone after the phone was in the police evidence locker, after a certain date. So I was able to prove that, yeah, the phone was tampered with. While it was in police evidence, the stuff was deleted, messages were sent and received and deleted on that phone after it was in evidence.
Wow.
So and I'm thinking, well, the guy confessed. What do you need me for? This is crazy. But they used that to negotiate with the DA. They didn't want an embarrassing situation saying our evidence locker is basically anybody can walk away and make a phone call anytime they want. So they gave this guy a great deal. He got like 8 years.
Holy cow.
So that's that kind of background maneuvering that goes on that the average person has no idea.
Absolutely. Okay, let's do this. Let's go to our bottom of the hour break. Ed, can you stick around with us for a little bit longer?
Yeah, sure.
I've got so much, because we got to talk about your show too. And I want to talk about the Ferguson, Missouri case. So don't go away. You're listening to I almost said the other show, Backstage on the Hazy Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Whoops. Quest from Periscope Uncensored, and you're listening to the Hazy Radio Network.
We know you're out there. We know you can hear us. We're going to show you a place where the rules of this world don't always apply. A place where the common conception known as reality doesn't exist. We will lead you over the bridge, crossing the void you may fear to tread across. Where you take it from there, we leave that decision up to you. We only have one question to ask. Are you ready? Crossing the Void Radio, every Wednesday night from 8 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time on the Hazy Radio Network. To learn more about Crossing the Void Radio, go to our website, www.crossingthevoidradio.com.
Hey, Hazy Radio listeners. Do you like animated movies and TV shows? Do you ever wonder just what goes into making the magic that appears on your screen? Join Doug Engler and Brandon Aarons every Sunday night for Animazing Radio. Animazing will feature everything in the animation arena, from voice actors and actresses to illustrators, producers, and more. Only on Animazing Radio will you find the very best in animation from around the world. Catch Animazing Radio every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on the Hazy Radio Network.
Looking for that perfect gift for the anime lover in your life? Trying to track down those hard-to-find art and guidebooks for your favorite show? Check out homecirclemedia.com for the latest in anime stationery supplies, accessories, collectibles, and more. We offer competitive prices, free shipping for orders over $99, and an incentives program that will keep you coming back for more. Please visit www.homecirclemedia.com today. Love the shows? Show the love!
You read the paper. You watch the news. Have you ever considered that you're not getting the whole story? This is Dr. Truth.
And this is Dr. Drake. Tune in to the radio show Earth, Saturday nights, 10 to midnight.
We'll be exposing what the elites are doing all over the world.
We don't want you to believe us. Get a pen out and check us out.
It's the radio show accused of telling the truth. Earth.
The most controversial planet in the solar system. Saturday nights, 10 to midnight, Eastern Time, on the Hazy Radio Network.
Oh, babies, the night can be so dark and so godless and lonely. Hey, we don't want to live like this anymore. Hey, there is light in the middle of the night. Oh, yeah, the Coyote Medicine Show with Grandpa Coyote right here on the Hazy Radio Network. Oh, of course, at midnight.
My name is Meera Batra, and this is How I Live United. Many families have come to America for a better life. I advocate for these families with United Way. United Way empowers them to see opportunities available. We help them get involved with their kids, schools, and network within the community. My name is Meera Batra. I help families see opportunity and succeed. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by...
Welcome back to Backstage with Hazy and Clarissa here on the Hazy Radio Network. I obviously am not hazy, but I'm just as good looking.
No, you're probably better looking.
Okay, if you want to go on public record and say that, you
say
can
that.
Go right ahead, but there's no way I'm going to say that.
Oh, okay. Okay. And with us, of course, we have our very special guest. We have Mr. Ed Opperman, who is going to be premiering live on the Hazy Radio Network on Friday night at 8 to 10 p.m. Now, he's been on the network for the last month or so on Sunday nights, and his podcasts are available on the on-demand page and available to listen throughout the network. Ed, welcome back.
Hey, how are you?
I'm excellent. Now, I wanted to talk to you because this is such fresh news, and I know you have an opinion on it, and I know that this is what your show on Friday night is going to be about. What do you think about what's happening in Ferguson, Missouri?
Actually, the live show that's going to be on Hazy is going to be about Alan Abel, that famous hoaxer from the 70s.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And what I found out, too, listen to this. This guy had a whole bunch of... he was friends with Andy Kaufman. And he had a whole bunch of dinners with Andy Kaufman, so we're going to be talking about that as well. But we're going to be talking about Alan Abel and about how he manipulated the media to pull off all these hoaxes and stuff. The guy's a legend, you know? Mm-hmm. And he just appeared before Yale. He got some kind of award from Yale University, so I let him come on the show. I figured it'd be able to have But after that, we do an after show. It's playing on different stations and recorded and goes up on YouTube and stuff like that. And that's going to be up at Ferguson, Missouri. And I have a guy he's from Portland, Oregon, and he's with Cop Watcher over there, where they videotape the cops all the time. Yeah. And he's down there keeping an eye on stuff. And I'm going to try and get Lorenzo Combawa Urban to come on as well and give us his opinions.
So cool. I'll be there. I'll be there listening on Friday. I won't be here, but I'll be listening. So, what do you think about what's happening in Ferguson, Missouri, and the whole Michael Brown case and all of that kind of stuff? Because you can see things on both sides. You can see things on the law enforcement side, and you can see the things on the political side.
Okay, first thing you got to look at is there's only 20,000 people live in this town, and it's controlled by the whites. There's no doubt about that.
Right,
okay?
right.
There's not one black person in the whole school district. Not even the janitor. The janitor's not even black in the school district. Not one black employee. Not one black employee in the fire department. Only 3 black guys in the police department. So you got problems there to begin with, okay? It's obviously white controlled. Now you look at this police chief. The guy makes me very nervous, okay? And he was definitely trying to cover up from his buddy there from the start. Now we got the autopsy, okay? There's some possible shots from the back, okay? But what I'm concerned about is that we don't have his clothing. His clothing is not in the possession of the of anybody who's not. I don't want to say like on our side, like the cop, this police chief and his police department and his local DA, they have control of the clothing, okay? Now that's a big problem because now with the clothing, we're going to be able to see if his hands were up.
Right.
Because if your hands are up, if your shirt lifts up and the bullet hole will match up when your hands are up, or the bullet hole will match up if you turn around.
Correct.
But the thing is, they got the clothes. It's not impossible for them to go out and buy a set of clothes, and shoot some holes in it, and really rig that up, okay? That kind of thing is possible. So that makes me nervous. Now, what else makes me nervous is what I know about Al Sharpton. And Al Sharpton coming in demanding that the federal government come in and take over this investigation and Eric Holder and all this kind of stuff like that.
Right.
I've known Al Sharpton for years. I knew Al Sharpton when I was with the Yippies when I was 17, 18 years old. I knew him then. I knew him later on when I was a PI, where we were working with the same lawyers and the same private investigators. Mm-hmm. Again, a friend of mine was working on one of the Michael Jackson tours with Al Sharpton. So when he was with that guy, Francese, who was ratted out his own father, I knew Al Sharpton when he was walking around with that briefcase, wiretapping people for the FBI.
Wow.
Because the same people he was wiretapping were the same. I own a nightclub in Manhattan. And the same guys he was wiretapping were the guys that were extorting me in my club. So we know now Al Sharpton was an FBI informant. We know now that Al Sharpton was paid off by the GOP. His whole presidential campaign was run by GOP dirty tricksters. I'm going to be doing a whole show on this as well. I had a guest on my show, Jackie Hollander, who was working for James Brown, and she has all kinds of information about Al Sharpton as well, because they were best friends.
Yeah.
And she made a lot of allegations against Al Sharpton. So now here we have Al Sharpton in here demanding the FBI come in and take over his investigation. That makes me nervous, and it makes me nervous, too, that they got this new Black Panther Party. Which anybody who has their ear to the ground on these kind of things know that this new Black Panther Party, this is not the original Black Panther Party for self-defense. This is a new group that is chock full of FBI informants and COINTELPRO guys, and they're on the ground over there calling shots. So the whole thing over there makes me very nervous.
Yeah, it does.
How much of this is some kind of psyop making us used to the police coming in with tanks and almost like a reality TV show every night, where they're doing this to kind of condition us to be used to this, or kind of be entertained by it, to enjoy it. So I don't know, and I'm very nervous about the whole thing.
I am too, because when you watch the reports, when you watch the news feeds of it, this is something that you see happening in other countries. This is not something that you see happening in the United States. It also takes me back to the Rodney King riots that tore up L.A. for months, and they have never recovered from that. That part of L.A. has never recovered. The attitude has never recovered. And it is so media fueled at this point. It is so, it really is outrageous. And it gets to the point where you wonder what statement they're trying to make. And as you say, they're trying to put people under control. It makes me wonder, there's nothing in this case that's been handled correctly at all. The media got a hold of it. What I find fascinating is the reports that the media first put out completely conflict what the eyewitnesses are talking about. It completely conflicts what little the police have said. And I understand that when you are involved as an officer in a shooting, investigations have to go on. It is a crime scene. And being in one side of law enforcement, that the police department cannot release all the information because it's still a live investigation. They have to get all the facts, because if they start giving bits and pieces, things aren't going to make sense. So, to me, I think there's just a whole lot of wrong and not a lot right about this.
Well, from the start, these local cops, I think it was a bad shooting, okay, from the start. Because if you look, they did a lot of stuff. They left that body out there in the street for like 4 hours.
Right.
Thinking they could just get away with strutting around with this dead body. But also, too, they didn't even interview and take a statement from his best friend that was there with him.
Correct.
Now the police version is that, hey, well, he was turning around and he was running toward me. Well, okay, then why aren't you charging the guy that was with him? Oh, he did a strong arm robbery or this quick stop. Well, why aren't you charging the guy that was with him? He's on video with him. Mm-hmm. The guys, they don't even talk to him.
Right.
I've seen that before. Okay, we had a shooting here in Vegas, and at the Costco where they shot a West Point graduate, white guy by the way, shot and killed them. Definitely a bad shooting. Everybody knows it's a bad shooting. But right away they came out. They told every witness, "Get lost. There's nothing to see here. Get out of here." Okay, so it's the same kind of thing. So they don't interview the witness. They're not charging the witness, right? Then the cops did a lot of stuff in those first couple of days that are really, really outrageous, man. One thing is that the people in the neighborhood who knew this kid, this is a small town, 20,000 people.
Right.
They knew this kid. So they made a makeshift memorial in the street there for this kid that got shot. The cops drove over it and ran over it.
Right, I know.
I know. Yeah. So there's a lot of incompetence and arrogance that went on in the early police investigation. Yeah, that's true. But then what inspired them to come out with this tank in response to these women with the baby carriages out there protesting and pointing guns at them, like this is something that was normal and expecting it. I don't know. There's something fishy here, and we're not going to see it till it's over. But right now, it seems to be there's. I've been on these big news stories before, and now it seems like they've come in. Whoever the controllers are of the news, they've come in and they're running it. Now this is one of our stories that we're going to make a narrative out of and a storyboard, and this is how we're going to do it. Right. I think it started off organic, but I think now that the big shots have come in, because when this media comes in, I've seen this before with big trials, like with the OJ trial here in Vegas, and with the Margaret Rudin trial and the Binion trial. I've been involved in these big cases. These guys, HLN and Court TV, and these guys, they come in, they take over. You have no idea. They take over all the hotels. They take over every spot in every restaurant, every seat at every bar. They come in, they take over the parking. They have big giant trucks with tents and all kinds of stuff going on. They come in and take over, and no local people who want to be on the news, they have to go along with the story that they're putting forward. Otherwise, they're not going to get on the news. Okay, and the word gets out right away what you have to say to get on the news. in the legal community. So, and that's what seems to be going on right now.
I agree. Do you think that, we all know now that the police force that they have in Ferguson could not handle the reaction of the community because it is a small community. So they blew it. So now they're bringing now you bring Al Sharpton in, and you bring in Jesse Jackson, who really did nothing but fuel it. And because Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton got into it, that's where the media came in. That's where the media started blowing things way up. And now you get to the point where the people who are peacefully protesting are the community activists. The people who are causing the riots are people from surrounding communities who are coming in who just want to cause trouble.
Well, the riots, the so-called riots and the vandalism has really been minor, insignificant. There was one burning down of a quick stop, right?
Well, another place was burned down last night. Yeah.
What was that?
There was another one that was burned down last night.
Yeah, but really minimal. It's not like these are day-long riots going when it's out of control. The situation's out of control.
Right.
It seems to be more that the cops are the one out of control, shooting these flashbangs and these tear gas all over the place. And even there's people who live, right across the street, like on that street where the kid was killed, and their homes are being hit with tear gas and rubber bullets and stuff like that, and people are running through their backyards. These are the real victims, man. These people, they're not protesting, not doing anything. They got to shut their windows because there's gas coming in their windows.
Right, and they just want to go home. And
yeah, well, no, they're in their home.
Yeah. Last night there was a lady that they were interviewing. I don't remember which network they broke in. I don't remember which network was covering it. And this lady said, "I'm just trying to go home. I'm not part of this. I just want to go home, and I can't get there. They won't let me cross the line. My home is on the other side of those guys, and I can't get there." They can't, if they're not in their homes before it happens, they can't get to their homes.
Oh, yeah. Or even they were even talking last night about how they had blocked off one end of the street and the cops had told them to go the other way, and they had cops on the other end of the street telling them to go the other way.
Right.
Now, I've had experience back in New York City where we had protests. They came out, I guess, in the 80s, the mid-80s, around Giuliani time, where they came up with these police barricades and you had to walk through funnels, to get through protests and stuff like that. And I can remember one time in particular where they were just having us walk around in circles, They were just doing it just to bust their balls.
Yeah.
But I don't even think they have the brains over there in Ferguson right now that they even, like if New York City cops and advisors were down there telling them how to do this and manipulate this crowd, there's ways to control crowds at demonstrations with barricades and all kinds of stuff like that.
Right.
None of that's going on. There's a lot of gun pointing and tear gas throwing.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be all just made up as it goes along. That no one's in charge.
No one's in charge. And I know they brought the state police in, who happened to be, the chief happened to be African American, from Ferguson. And he's trying to calm things down. And it was like they walked all over him. And now he's not even in control. So now they have to bring in the National Guard, with extreme force to try to calm everything down. The whole thing just, to me, is just unfathomable. It just, I understand what they're trying to protest. I understand that they are in support of this young man who was shot. But I don't want to make a judgment either way until the facts are out. Now, there was a report that came out yesterday from a young woman who she is reporting on behalf of a witness. And the reason the witness didn't come forward is because he's in fear of his life. This gentleman has talked about it, and he's an African-American gentleman, but he's in fear of his life. And the report that came out was the description of what happened. And this eyewitness, now he's not the guy that Michael Brown was with. It was somebody who happened to be on the other side of the street watching everything unfold in front of him. And he is actually defending Officer Wilson, saying that Officer Wilson did not instigate what had happened. Officer Wilson was just telling this kid to get out of the middle of the street. Now, whether that's right or wrong, the kid has a right to walk in the middle of the street, but the cop is saying, get out of the middle of the street. In normal cases, a normal person, I'm going to say a normal person, would say, okay, I'll get out of the middle of the street, no big deal. But what this kid did is he approached the car and started antagonizing the police officer. Now, with a kid who is 6'5", 300 pounds, that's intimidating when you're sitting in a squad car. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are. It's intimidating when somebody that big comes and antagonizes you. So what started it is Officer Wilson told him to back up because he was going to get out of the squad car. Then when Officer Wilson went to roll up the window, Brown reached in and grabbed the police officer by the neck. And so Officer gets this guy off of him and is trying to get out of the car, and Brown pushes the door into the officer and then starts walking away. Well, at that point, it's assaulting an officer. So now he's going to go and get the guy. And he also is aware that there was a robbery within the area. And this
No, he wasn't aware of that, no.
The cops were. They were saying that yesterday. The cops were aware because after the report came out that there was a robbery, it goes out on an all alert. And I know this from being in law enforcement, that an all alert goes out that there was a robbery at this location. This is a description of the suspect. Okay? So he was aware that something happened and this guy may be a suspect. So he did not know that at the time, that he did not know this kid was a suspect when he stopped him to tell him to get out of the street. But at some point it kind of flashed a memory of a report that had just gone out. So now he's trying to confront the kid, this Michael, and again, I'm not defending either one. I'm just saying what this lady was saying yesterday. And what she said is Wilson was not antagonistic at all. This guy started...
You know what, though? The woman you're talking about, she wasn't actually a witness. This is someone who knew Officer... No, she knows Wilson, and this is the story Wilson told her.
No. This wasn't a Wilson witness. This is somebody who was on the street, independent of everybody involved. This wasn't Wilson. This wasn't anybody affiliated with Wilson or Brown. This was a guy who saw it all happen. He mentioned it. People started threatening him, so he gave the report to somebody else. The police have that report, but she felt she had to say something. So you go back and listen to the reports from yesterday morning, and you'll hear it. So she's saying that the reason that when Wilson fired, he told Brown to stop and get down on the ground. Brown, from what I understand, turned around and started charging the officer. That's where all the shots were fired.
Well, no, because according to Wilson, he fired a shot when he was sitting in the car.
There was a shot. There was one shot that was fired from the car. The rest of them were from outside the car. So regardless, so I agree. So now he's assaulted a police officer. They don't know, and Wilson doesn't know, if he fired the shot or if Brown fired the shot inside the squad car because of everything that was happening all at once. That was mentioned. So again, I'm not defending one or the other. I'm just saying that the reports that are out there, more of the reports match up with what Wilson is saying than anybody else. So whose side do we take?
Okay, but then stop and think. Why didn't they take a statement from the Brown? Actually had a buddy there. Everyone acknowledges that.
Right.
He was in the video. Right. Why didn't they take a statement from him?
That I don't know.
And then, if according to Wilson's story, that they were both, being aggressive toward the cop, and this guy was part of the strong arm robbery in the convenience store, Why isn't he being arrested? And also, too, you say about how you withhold information, that everything's held back in the beginning. A lot of this stuff is sunshine law that should have been out, like the name of the officer in the incident report. All of this stuff should have been released. In fact, the ACLU had to file a lawsuit to get this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's clear that the cops originally at the scene, for whatever reason, they left the body lying there for 4 hours.
Right, absolutely wrong.
Right, then they moved the body in the back of an SUV. Okay? Then they didn't interview all the witnesses at the scene, especially the kid who was the guy's best friend. Then they don't release information that's public information that should be released. So there's a lot of stuff here. You know,
that's what I'm saying.
For whatever reason, they drive over the memorial, you know?
Right, and that's why I'm saying that there's a whole lot of wrong and not a lot of right. But but at this point, do you think we'll ever know what really happened?
With the clothes, depending on how the clothes come back, you know, if they come back, you know, it looks fugazi. I'm gonna have a problem with it, you know. Yeah. But if it comes back, you know, the way, if the clothes come back favoring the cops and the people in control of the clothes, I'm gonna have a problem with that. I'm gonna suspect that the clothes were tampered with. Now the thing is, have we come to a point? Okay, you know, I fought with cops. Okay, I grew up in the Bronx, you know, and I fought with cops, and I didn't always get arrested, you know, for fighting with the cops. You know, I never got shot for fighting with the cops. You know, you know, you would mess up a little bit, and the cops would kick your butt, you know, and then you'd go on your way. Okay,
right.
That's how I grew up. I'm 53 years old. I was born in the Bronx. I was born in Staten Island. The same thing. When I was a kid in Staten Island, we fought with the cops. If we come to a place in the world, okay, where an 18-year-old kid gets into a fight with the cop and he gets shot for it, he's unarmed, you know, are we really at that point now? We want to shoot every kid, you know, black, white, 6 foot, 3 foot, whatever, how tall you are, you know, how big you are, you know, it's a fight.
Right.
You know, a fist fight's a fist fight. Well, if we come to a point now where if you take a picture of a cop, or you get into an argument with a cop, or you're selling loose cigarettes, you know, in Staten Island where I grew up, that 8 cops are going to come and chokehold you and throw you to the ground and beat the crap out of you, or you're going to get shot in Ferguson, then they're going to cover it up, they're going to hold up, they're going to drive over your memorial. They're going to stand up in front of the cameras and say, "Bring it on, you bunch of animals," you know? And then they're going to come with a tank and point guns at the protesters. Is that what we want? I don't think. Or do we want a couple of cops to get their butt kicked every now and then?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's what anybody wants, and I certainly hope to God that isn't what our country is coming into.
Yeah.
But I'm also not
because you know my best. No, wait 1 second. My best friend and my partner, you know, he's fought with guys in he's cop. You know, he fought with guys in the projects. And his dad is a guy I look up to. You know, and he arrested Nicky Barnes, the big heroin dealer, and he's fought with guys. They never shot anybody, man. You know, you get into a fight, you get into a fight.
But do you think? Okay, now we're you and I are about the same age. Now, do you think being in law enforcement today, with the criminals that we have out today, do you think it's an even playing field? I think the cops are underpowered. The criminals, the crooks out there have more weapons and higher power weapons than the average street cop.
See, the thing is, though, no, because, see, first of all, the rules of engagement have changed. You know, everything is about officer safety now, you know, where you just get pulled over for a traffic ticket, you know, and they're treating you like you're I live in Compton or something. You know, and they have backup coming from, you know, I got pulled over with my headlight was out, you know. I get pulled over. Next thing I know, there's 2 cops. There's 2 cop cars pulling up. You know, and in the old days, you didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And I don't see a lot of cops getting shot by citizens.
Okay, Lil, I'm going to give you 2 examples. I'm going to give you 2 examples that happened up here in Minneapolis. In the past, and John's going to have to help me out, in the past 3 years, okay? Very short amount of time. The first one happened 3 years ago. In fact, we're coming up on the anniversary now. He is sitting in his squad car at a park on the side of the road, filling out paperwork. A guy walks up to him, knocks on the window. The cop rolls down the window to see what this guy wants. The guy shoots the cop in the head 3 times. You tell me if that's fair. Okay? 3 weeks ago, I think it is now, there is they call it a usual traffic stop, which in law enforcement there's nothing about a usual traffic stop. But there's a car stopped at the side of the road. The cop pulls up behind him to see if he needs help or to find out what's going on because he's on a busy road. Goes up to the window, knocks on the window to see if this guy needs help. The guy in the car rolls down the window, shoots the cop in the head 3 times. An 18-year veteran of the law enforcement, leaves a wife and 2 teenage daughters. You tell me who has the higher power. And I'm going to defend law enforcement because, granted, and I agree, there are crooked cops out there, absolutely, but we are not in a position as normal citizens. You may be because you're in private investigation, but we don't put a bulletproof vest on in the morning and walk out with a gun strapped to our hip, thinking that we may not make it home.
Okay, but wait a second. But again, to that whole theory is a lot more convenience store guys, or they got a gun in their face every night than cops do, and a lot more cab drivers do as well.
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So this idea that it's like this is the most dangerous job in the world, it's really not, And you want to get into anecdotal stories. My goodness, the woman who drove the ice cream truck over here that sold my kid ice cream got shot by the cops. And his witnesses said she was down on her knees when she was shot. So, and then Eric Scott, who got shot by here in this town, man, people getting shot by cops left and right. And there's been like one police shooting that's been ruled unjustified in the past 20, 30 years. It's just unbelievable. So, it's a free ride here to shoot civilians here in Nevada. But listen.
I'm defending the law enforcement because I am. Because okay. I admire them. But again, I'm also saying that there are some cops out there who are crooked cops. We got the former cop in Wisconsin who they just arrested because he killed 2 and threw him in a suitcase in the gutter. So there are bad cops out there. There are bad situations. We don't have the answer. We don't know. But it's all based.
I'm gonna interject here for like the first time in the show.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's all good because you and Ed both have had some really good things to say. And there's been some discussion in the chat room, and just last April we had an instance here in Colorado again where an off-duty state trooper pulled over to help a motorist on the side of the road. Come to find out, the motorist had warrants and shot and killed the trooper. Okay. Those things happen all the time.
Right.
Cops get shot in the line of duty all the time. You're absolutely right in saying that, they don't put on bulletproof vests for a reason. Now, being prior law enforcement myself, cops have an obligation to use any means necessary outside of lethal force
mm-hmm.
when trying to secure or subdue a suspect. That's why they have tasers, they have beanbag guns, they have canine units. Now, that particular officer didn't have access to a canine unit. They still have not released what equipment he did have access to. There's a lot of things about that officer that they have not released yet. All of the media focus right now has been on the kid. And I think that is in poor taste on the police department and the media. Do I think it was a bad shoot? Absolutely. Do I think the police officer was defending himself? Absolutely. But there are other ways to subdue a suspect other than shooting him twice in the head.
Right, right.
So I believe it was a bad shoot. I believe the kid was probably being a punk. and, was probably going to, try to attack the police officer based on witness reports and the officer's own statement. But the one thing I want to point out is that the investigation is still ongoing. We don't have all the facts.
Right.
And I believe the rioting and the protesting and the uproar from the public is hindering that investigation. So that's my soapbox.
Excellent. And I want to say, too, that I am not disagreeing with you at all. I agree with you on many points. I don't think our society is up to the task of fixing itself, unfortunately. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it, but it scares me. It does scare me.
I don't care if people disagree with me.
I know.
I can disagree with anybody. Disagree with me. I still love it. I don't care. But the thing is a lot of people, and I guess you guys are both former cops, but a lot of people identify with law enforcement and the government and that kind of thing. But the odds are more likely for the average person that you're going to wind up on the defendant's side of the table rather than on the prosecution side.
Right.
And we have to be concerned about the civil rights of the individual rather than the rights of the state. And in this situation, this cop represents the state. Mm-hmm. And like I said, man, listen, I was a kid, man. I was 18 years old. I got into a lot of fights with cops, man. We got into fights, okay? But things were a little more cool back then.
Exactly.
That you weren't getting shot, And I think nowadays a lot more people, citizens, are getting shot by cops, and cops getting shot by citizens. I think we all agree on that. I don't know if I brought it before, but my daughter, the ice cream truck lady, got shot, and Eric Scott got shot. And a guy was walking around with a cane got shot out here, and they said, "Oh, well, the cane was pointy at the tip, could have stabbed the cop." So there's a lot of stuff that goes on here. I think it was a bad shooting too. Was the cop under attack? We don't know. There's witnesses say on both sides. But the thing is, if you're gonna be a cop, man, you got to get into a fight now and then with a kid. You can't shoot everybody that comes at you.
But again, we weren't there, and that's why I'm saying I'm not taking sides, because none of us were there. We don't know the conversation that was going on between the two. We don't know how aggressive one was toward the other. We just don't know. And we won't know until the report comes out. And all we can do is hope that the truth comes out.
Okay, but then again, too, who's withholding the truth? The cops are withholding a lot of basic incident reports and stuff like that are normally released right away.
But do you?
And then they released this tape of an edited tape. It turns out of this convenience store strong arm robbery. Where, according to the guy that owned the candy store, he didn't even call the cops.
Just amazing. Now, do you think we're actually running long, so we got to cut this pretty soon? Do you think that in light of the situation that is going on now, with the riot that's going on now, that's why the cops are withholding some information so it doesn't instigate or incite more riots? Do you think they're trying to keep the calm?
Well, it doesn't matter. They're not
until
allowed to
people
do that,
calm down.
Yeah, certain information. You got to have that right to go in and retrieve public information, and they can't just withhold it for you, because then that throws the whole system into from a democracy to some kind of fascist dictatorship, where they're going to control what information comes out when they deem fit.
Okay,
you got to have rules, a level playing field.
Right. So, with the situation as escalated as it is now. Now, we know that forensic stuff won't be back for a while, okay? They do have some evidence, but if they try to release the evidence and it goes against Brown, isn't that going to incite more riots? If it goes against Wilson, it's going to incite more riots. So
it's a catch-22, regardless.
It really is. So they really have to wait, and I agree that they have to kind of wait until things kind of calm down and people kind of get their heads around it a little bit before they can come out with it and think, rather than emotionally, think reasonable.
Well, no. Because listen, if there's a law that says we are required to release these police reports, these incident reports, right after they happen, we can't say, well, no, there's this circumstance or that circumstance, and we have to use it. No way, man, because they'll abuse that in the future. We can't allow that to happen.
But is there a law that says that they have to release information by a certain time?
Oh yeah, that's all public information. You should be able to get that stuff. Yeah, they can fart around with it, and give you a hard time back and forth. Where you didn't fill this out right, you didn't fill that right. But they have to release that stuff. It should have been released way before a lawsuit by the ACLU.
They have to release it. I agree.
Yeah.
But is there a law that says if this happens on this date, this information has to be released by this date?
Yeah, in different places, yeah. Some places it's sunshine law. It's you got to release it right away. So I don't know what's going on there. In first, I couldn't tell you exactly. I can tell you, I was the guy who got the stuff in the Trayvon Martin case. I'm the guy who got those 311 tapes, the full 311 tapes released to the public, because through a Freedom of Information Act request we made back in those days. So, and this, I don't know, I'd have to really get involved in it, I'm not involved. But I know for a fact that, they were supposed to have released this way before they did, and that the ACLU had to actually file a lawsuit, and then they released it. And then on top of that, they released all this other thing on their own, this convenience store footage.
Mm-hmm.
Just as an anecdote.
Yeah, I mean, it just all blows my mind. I mean, it's sad to see that what is happening, and unfortunately, this is the sign of our times now, because this isn't just something that's happened in Ferguson, Missouri. This is happening all across our country. It's just not on TV. I think the last one that we saw of this was the Rodney King, right? Something that's what I can think of.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, because there are a lot of people saying that, cops have to exercise self-control, they have to exercise common sense, but that doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
And Rodney King is a prime example of that.
Right. Oh, it's just scary. It's all scary. Okay. Ed, I want to thank you for being on the show. And I want you to go ahead and promote your show on Friday and everywhere people can find you, because I know you're all over the place. Yes, I'm on the run. You're on the run, literally.
I have a dog, the bounty hunter's looking for me. I'm all over the place. On Friday nights, we're going to be on Hazy Radio, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be live. And this Friday's show is going to be with Alan Abel, who's that famous hoaxer back in the 70s. And this guy was a fascinating guy. He was on TV all the time back in New York in those days, because he used to attack the local stations even more than he did with his big cases. So he's a fascinating guy. I can't wait to have him on. It'll be a fun show. We got coming up, we're going to do a show about the Tupac Shakur murder with John Postman, who wrote this book about COINTELPRO and infiltration of the whole rap community and the assassination of Tupac Shakur. And then we have coming up after that, we have Ward Churchill, who's that college professor who's from Colorado, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and he's written all these great books about COINTELPRO and about the Baader-Meinhof gang and the Red Army faction in Europe over there back in the 70s and the 80s. And a lot of fascinating stuff about that hasn't really hit the public that we're going to be getting into with him. Let me think. Who else? Oh, I got Bobby Seale from the original Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. He's coming on.
Oh.
I'm trying to think any big crime cases. Coming up, I don't know who else we got, but we got a bunch of guys coming up. But you'll love it. We do after shows too, where we have it's more casual, and we record it on YouTube. You can always go to the Opperman Report YouTube channel and check that out. And hey, if you need to hire a private investigator, go to emailrevealer.com. And you can find me. I got a little button on there with all my big press releases, all the big cases I worked on. And you can take a look at that. Shelley Tripp and Sarah Palin and Tiger Woods and all the stuff I've done in the past.
Very cool. Well, you are just a man about the world.
Yeah, right.
You've got your fingers in everything. If anybody needs to know it, you've got it.
Pretty much. With enough time and money, you could find out anything on anybody.
That's true. That's true. Well, Ed, I want to thank you again for coming on to our re-premiere of Backstage on Tuesday nights here on the Hazy Radio Network. And I wish you well, and I wish you success on the show.
No, thank you so much, because I think you gave up your Friday night for me, didn't you?
I did.
Thank you so much. God bless you. I really appreciate it, because I really love that Friday night slot. I'm really comfortable there.
I was more than happy to do that for you. I'm glad
and now I only have to do 2 hours on Fridays instead of 4.
There you go.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Because my show follows
Clarissa?
Right after you.
Oh, well, cool. Maybe sometimes we can do like a little joint thing,
That'd be great.
Yeah, I could probably work that in.
We'll smoke a joint, too. You're in Colorado, right?
That's right.
There you go.
I love it. I love it. Okay, everybody. Ed, again, thank you very much. We're going to take a really quick short break, and then Clarissa and I will come back and wind up the show. So don't go away. You're listening to Backstage on the Hazy Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Good night, guys.
Your health is not just about your physical condition. Science is learning that your mind has a great influence on your overall health. A healthy body needs a healthy spirit and a healthy attitude to run its best. Join Helene Burke for Healthy People to discover ways to help you build the healthy life you want. Monday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Hazy Radio Network.
Join us every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for Dear Emmy with Elizabeth Rose on the Hazy Radio Network.
And welcome back to the last couple minutes of the Backstage premiere show here on Hazy Radio Network. And stick around. I'm actually going to be, I decided. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to go ahead and play some music for a little while. And kind of shake things off and shake things up and see how that goes. So, Clarissa, I love the show. It was a good show.
It was a good show. We had some really good discussion tonight.
I know.
Aside from you and I talking about our pets.
Exactly. That was the heated part of the show. No, it's all good. But
it's nice to talk about things other than our neurotic pets and
our neurotic lives. I know, our neurotic lives. My microphone is falling off my stand here. But I want to thank you for moving with me to Tuesday nights and joining me on Backstage. And I know I kind of took over the show tonight. I don't normally do that.
No worries.
But
no worries at all. I threw in my 2 cents when I felt it was important.
You threw in about a dime, I think. I think you got a little more than 2 cents in. But, I like doing shows like this because it's topical, and I like getting an opinion out, and whether it be from people in the chat room or people calling in or the hosts or the guests. I think it's important for the listeners to hear our voices and to hear our opinions on things. So that's why I like doing these kind of things. It's all good. It's all good. So
it's all good?
Yeah, it's all good.
Ain't nothing but a chicken wing.
It's a buffalo chicken wing?
Sure.
Oh, okay. So who do you have coming up Friday night on Periscope Uncensored?
On Periscope Uncensored, we've got Jack Penna coming up. He's the technical specialist and assistant case manager for Spirits of New England, and he's also part of the Paranormal Underground magazine.
Yes, he is. I like him a lot. I like him. Good show.
Yeah.
Now, do you know who Doug has on anime?
Animazing Radio. He's going to have voice actor Tom Wayland. And the best way to describe Tom Wayland is to ask which Pokemon voice he has not done.
Oh, one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's gonna be kind of cool. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Now, just so people know, unless Clarissa wants to do the show next Tuesday, I will not be here.
Like, I have a way to engineer it.
We can do it by we can go sit in the chat room. We can do it by osmosis.
Yeah, that's why Periscope isn't going to be on the following week.
Yeah, unless we get your brother hooked up, ready to go.
You know, my brother really needs to get on the ball with that, and I know he's listening. And he and I are going to talk tonight after the show.
I know.
So
we're gonna have a discussion.
Yeah, we're gonna have a chat.
Yeah, we'll have a chat. So Backstage probably will not be on next week unless once I get to where I'm going, I will find out if I might be able to get an engineer, but I won't know until next week. So we may or may not be on. I doubt we'll be on actually. I think I've got some evening stuff going on with work, but we'll be back on the following week, and then I'll be gone again that next week. So after that, I should be here every week, unless they send me off to somewhere of unknown origins.
Well, I thought there was a second week that you were going to be gone.
Yeah, so I'm going to be gone Monday the 25th, and I will be gone on Tuesday the 9th of September.
Yes.
And then I should be back. But we're going to kind of format Backstage as a loose format. Not that we're loose women, but it's going to be kind of a loose format. Some weeks we'll have guests if we have one. Some weeks it'll just be us jabbering and playing music and kind of just winging it. So it'll be a fun show. It'll be a good show.
Awesome.
So with that said, should we go ahead and call it a night and we'll bring in some music?
I think we should.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go out, and I want to again thank everybody on the Hazy Radio Network for celebrating our 3-year anniversary. Phenomenal network, phenomenal shows, phenomenal hosts, and couldn't do it without them.
Happy birthday to you.
I know I was going to play the Puppet Music Factory's Happy Birthday song, but it wouldn't load up here, so I'm kind of waiting.
Oh, that beats what I've been listening to all week. So
what's that?
I said that beats what I've been listening to.
I know you've been listening to that, coconut song.
Yes. I gotta do something to keep my spirits up.
I know you gotta do something to keep your spirits up. It's all good. You just listen to Backstage and you keep your spirits up here, right?
Until my blood pressure rises talking about cops.
Exactly. I know. Ooh, that's a subject.
I've been there. I've worn the bulletproof vests. I've taken the oaths. I've done the serve and protect route, and both as a peace officer and as a dispatcher, and it's rough.
It is rough. I dated a police officer. My nephew is not an active police officer, but he went through the police academy, and he works in law enforcement now. These guys risk their lives every single day they walk out that door. We don't.
Yes, they do.
We go to our little office jobs, and we go and do our little job, but they literally go out, and they honestly don't know if they're coming home at night. And that scares me, because they are a target as far as I'm concerned. They're a target. They're wearing a uniform with a badge, and any jerk who decides to take out a cop will. The guy who shot the cop this last time did it because he just plain hates cops, and that's why he did it. So with that, we are going to go ahead and call it a night. And so you guys have a great week. Stay tuned. Don't go away. I'm going to go ahead and throw some music up. So if you have some requests, go ahead and throw them into the chat room. Bring your friends in, and we'll see where the music goes. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Have a good night, everybody. We will see you in 2 weeks. Clarissa will see you on Friday night with Periscope Underground. And
Periscope Uncensored.
Uncensored. Here I am. I'm flipping switches over here, so I'm kind of maneuvering around.
That's all right. Last week I said Paraground.
There we go. There we go. See, we don't know what we're doing. Okay, say goodnight, Clarissa.
Good night, Clarissa.
Good night, everybody in the chat room. We've got Becca and Doug and Homie and John and Dan has joined us. And again, thank to Ed Opperman for joining us as a guest. And check out his show Friday night, 8 p.m. here on the Hazy Radio Network. Good night, everybody.